Welcome to Wisdom from the Mountain, a podcast about intuition, spirituality, and following your path. I'm your host, Tara Alexandria. I'm a psychic medium, intuitive guide, and healer. I'm here to support you to live from your intuition and find true healing and authentic growth. Thank you for being here and for your willingness to live your best life, for yourself and for the world around you. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to the podcast. I took quite a break from publishing episodes, and I was diving into a lot of personal healing and was conserving my energy. And I'm really feeling that creativity return. I'm really feeling my physical health is in a way better place, and I'm excited to be back. I also really felt called to publish an episode at this time because of the time we're in. The time we're in is one that is very unique, that none of us have ever experienced. And on top of that, it's a time that's really inviting us into introspection. Whether we realize it or not, we're being asked to connect more deeply to ourselves and to connect more deeply to each other and the people that are most important to us in our lives. I really wanted to offer this out today as well because I think it's so important for you individually to take care of your conscious state at this time, to take care of your mind. And I know that so many of you that are here with me are sensitive people. I know that you are spiritual people that really see things differently and are really approaching things from a space of, how can I help? What can I do? And I also want to make sure that you have space for yourself and that you're really getting what you need in order to have a calm mind to work from. So this is my small way of offering you some support and some guidance at this time, and I really hope that it helps. Take care of yourself and the others around you. Thank you so much for being here and listening. Hello, my loves. I hope that you are doing well and really taking care of yourself at this time. Today is the new moon in Aries, and I thought it was a great time to get back to the podcast. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to create this episode is because I really wanted to share about how important it is right now to maintain a real sense of peace and calm and stillness within yourself. So that is going to be my focus today. And the first place I'm going to have to start is with a Chinese medicine concept that's really important and highly related to why all of this is so important and what it will do for you and what it will do for the world itself. So the Shen is a concept in Chinese medicine, and Shen is a Chinese word. What it means is the spirit that resides in the heart. It is also considered synonymous with the mind, not the mind in the sense of being the intellect, but the consciousness that animates you, that you can see as the spirit that you recognize through someone's eyes. And keeping this part of us really healthy is primarily based on correct nourishment of our body, literally the state of our blood and our body guarantee that we have a foundation to begin with the state of our Shen, of our mind. And when we have that healthy foundation to begin from, we still have some work to do. We still have potentials that can affect the Shen, that can change it, and we can work with it. I think that everyone can work with it to different degrees. So I just said that the first part of the health of this spirit, the heart spirit, the mind spirit, the Shen, is based on nourishing the body. The second is nourishing our mind, our psychology, our psyche. And this is so important right now, and the primary reason I wanted to talk about this. All types of trauma can take root in our heart spirit and affect us. They can affect us from day to day, even if they are small traumas from our childhood. They can affect us in huge ways when certain situations arise, when certain triggers come up and pull us into a cascade of emotions, or feeling like we are out of control or unstable in some way within that situation if we don't know what to do or how to take care of ourselves. And the other types of trauma can simply come from current events and information that we're taking in, things that we read, images that we see, words that we hear. All of these things can come in and have the potential to destabilize the heart spirit, to destabilize your Shen. The Shen is literally the mind. So what this means when this spirit isn't in a good state is that the mind itself begins to feel anxiety. It begins to think on a different level than is normal. Maybe it becomes more fearful. Maybe you begin to loop inside of this sequence of thoughts, usually negative ones, that you can't get out of, that you feel trapped inside of. And those anxieties literally mount, and you don't seem to have a sense of control over it. The more minor and common ways that our heart spirit, our mind is constantly shifting, and that we can all recognize, range from anxiety, sleep issues like not being able to fall asleep because we have so many anxious thoughts, to nightmares, to waking up during the night, whether from a nightmare or simply just waking up, having heart palpitations during the day or when we lie down at night, and having difficult social interactions, difficulty having conversations, and really having this lack of real understanding and interpretation of the present and of our personal interactions and the interpersonal situations that we are in. A lack of awareness of the self is a real way that the Shen can be what's called disturbed, or to simply not be anchored. The Shen needs to be anchored in the body, and that's why taking care of the body is so important in order to have a clear mind. And just to give you a very small understanding as well, more extreme versions of Shen disturbance in Chinese medicine are going to go into more extreme psychological conditions. They're going to go beyond things like depression and into things that are psychoses, things that are true disorders on a psychological level. And those, I still believe, are, treatable, that you can support yourself through them. But they are they're further along the spectrum from what I'm talking about today, and would need very different approaches to what I'm sharing today. The things we're talking about here are the more basic things that you can do to support yourself, to support your mind, and to create real strength. I will also say that I believe these supports that you're giving yourself can actually create a really powerful anchor for having a healthy mind throughout the rest of your life, and really giving yourself the tools to where you don't have to fall into these issues of the heart spirit, of the mind in the future, maybe as often as you have in the past. That's what it's been through my experience in developing a really deep practice of meditation. Meditation is going to be the primary tool to clear and anchor your Shen, especially right now, to keep it really healthy and to keep it really aware of itself. You can see yourself better when you are very clear on yourself, when you have a mind that has sorted through all of the extraneous information that we don't really need and that has kind of piled up in our minds over time from our lives, just from our relationships, from the experiences we've been through. Okay, so what exactly does this have to do with right now? Why am I feeling this for the new moon right now, for the messages of right now? The reason that this is so important is because, especially with new moons, I talk about planting seeds of intention. Everyone talks about this, right? Like really choosing new goals or having a new way that you're going to approach something in your life. And what I feel is so important right now is to bring ourselves back into a state of peace and a state of calm and a state of stillness. My biggest reason to want this, to see this need, is because so many of us are not in that right now. We are not functioning from a state in our minds of higher consciousness. We're allowing ourselves to sort of drag down into this lower place, into a vibration, an energy that doesn't lift us up and that will not give us the power to lift anyone else up or anything else up. So we all know what's happening in the world right now, so I don't need to go into it. But what we may not realize is how the quantity of the information we're taking in through the news and through social media, as well as its emotional quality or the vibration it carries, is affecting us both individually and collectively. So once we are affected in a way individually that's destabilizing to our Shen, to our mind, we fall into a lower, more difficult state of consciousness. We become susceptible to fear, and suddenly all of our fears are at the surface. They're fighting for our attention. They are coming up, and we suddenly realize that our worries have multiplied. We might be crying, or we might be on the verge of tears all day. We might feel angry and defensive instead and sort of harden off to the world. This is when xenophobic tendencies really increase and we begin to fear the others in our life. We begin to fear the outside. And this is exacerbated right now because we've literally been told to go inside of our houses. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? Going home, being at home. We all have different circumstances, but this is a giant collective moment of literally going within. And if we can listen to that in the way that pertains to us right now, it is calling us to look at something that is inside, whether that is inside of our home, inside of our heart, inside of our mind, inside of our mission in life. We can take it out of its box and really look at it right now because we have the time and we have the space. And if we create the energy of stability to go within from this place of peace and calm, we can transform from there. We cannot transform when we do not have a solid base to work from on an emotional level, on a physical level. We have to have the stillness of our mind in order to move through anything in the highest possible way. On top of being susceptible to this cascade of negative emotions, our sleep can also suffer. Our reactions then suffer, and most of all, our interactions with others begin to suffer. And we tend to create animosity between ourselves and the outside world, or ourselves and our families, the people close to us. When we repeat information and adopt beliefs or viewpoints that aren't truly our own and that don't come from our higher consciousness, from our heart spirit, then we are simply falling into old patterns and cycles of power of lower consciousness, and that is not going to move us forward. And if you can't already tell from everything I've told you about the Shen cannot be in that low vibrational state in order to work in the highest and best way. It cannot serve during a time of great need for higher and better energy to lead us. And it becomes a sort of confused muddle that we're just trying to get through. And a crisis time is not a time to get through. It is a time to work through. And we have to work from the best and highest energy that we can summon within ourselves. The best thing that you can do right now is to accept the invitation that's before us all, to go within, to really begin to ask yourself questions, to allow this moment that's maybe shaking you up from typical life to change, to transform, to see if something needs to shift from within your own heart, from within your external life, and to address it. To really question yourself about your life and your relationships, about the earth and our relationship to her. This is not an event that just extends to the human body. It also asks us to look at the health of the macrocosm, the planet that we inhabit. And to me, it's so interesting that the world's typical patterns of business have been heavily disrupted after a year in which Greta Thunberg became one of the most heard voices on our planet, taking the mic as a young person to warn all of us of what's ahead without greater change to our systems. It's one thing to hear, but it's another thing to see what a change then affects in our world. And right now we are being shown a lot. Though I don't think it's a concept in Chinese medicine, I believe the earth also has a Shen. I believe that that Shen is linked to our Shen, just like the idea that we all have souls, but there's like a greater over soul that we're all a part of. I believe our emotions and our inner world affects the outer world, and it most definitely affects our decisions and actions in the outer world. When we have a really healthy emotional and inner world, we make better decisions and we take better actions that are good for those around us, that are good for community, for the collective. It doesn't just become about the self and survival, it becomes about the overall picture. So, how can you take care of your emotions and your inner world at a time like this? How can you make sure that your energy stays in a really good place and that when you do have things like anxiety coming up, you know what to do with them? First, the most foundational action that you can take is to mentally and physically support yourself. On a mental level, it's important to shut off some of the sources of information that are coming into your world. Listening to the news all of the time and listening to the world talk in an unconscious way is going to inundate your spirit, your mind, with so much information that you don't need, that is too much information for your mind and your spirit to process. It's not that you can't intellectually process it. It's that energetically, it's too much energy coming in and it's going to create a jam. You have to filter. You have to choose what you expose yourself to and how much. Next, I believe that right now you must take real time for quiet meditation. I have a tiny little free meditation course where I have lots of information written out and in little video clips about how to set yourself up for a silent practice. because a silent meditation practice gives your mind the most space from information. There isn't auditory information coming in, there isn't visual information coming in. You close your eyes and you're in this quiet space. In that space, you can truly process feelings, you can get your energy right. And it doesn't matter if it's just 10 minutes a day. It doesn't matter if you don't feel that it's doing anything, because even if you're sitting there for 10 minutes and your mind is racing, it is beginning to slow down, because all that is there with you is your breath. All that's there with you is spirit. Another thing that you can do is to really get support from the healers in your life. Get help from them to process your feelings, anything that's coming up for you, whether past or present. And when your energy feels off, that's what healers are for. For me personally, there are times where I don't even realize that my energy isn't in an amazing place, and I'm having a lot of neck pain, and I just think to myself, I need to get to my chiropractor. Well, my chiropractor is this magical medium, and she doesn't really tell people that, but she is amazing. And when I get to her, she's able to say to me, hey, I think you've been doing this too much or that too much. And the other day she said to me, feels like, you've been watching the news too much. You've been taking in too much. And I was like, you're right. And that is where my energy was at. It was in this low and congested place. And after she worked with me and I sort of was able to clear that out, I realized how much I could not have done that on my own. I needed another person to help me, to sort of guide me through it, and to energetically support me. Our healers that can really work with energy are very different and very, very important. Finally, it's just important for you to be very aware of yourself and, of course, to take care of your physical body. But I think that that was a given from what I spoke of earlier. So, right now, being aware of when you begin to feel yourself slip into anxiety or slip into lower feelings, slip into fear, or maybe you just realize that your sleep is off and you're starting to be a little edgy during the day, be extra careful those days with your words and your actions. Be extra aware of the thoughts that are in your mind and the information that you're taking in. Choose at those times to filter a little more. Choose at those times to maybe shut off the phone for a while so that you have the total space where information isn't flowing into that heart spirit, into your mind, and congesting it. With this new moon, you have one of the biggest opportunities to plant seeds of hope, positive outlook, and a higher understanding for everyone to work from. Working on a personal level still affects the collective. So the little ways that you work with yourself are truly affecting others and the planet itself. Positivity doesn't mean being unaware of reality, and we are not talking about spiritually bypassing what is actually going on in the world. But being positive and working from a place of true spiritual work, it breeds intentions that create opportunities and a better future for everyone and everything involved. Whereas negativity and working from that kind of a place actually increases focus on individual gain only. Negativity and fear have never moved the world forward for everyone. It has only supported individually and in ways that over time will be destructive. So, right now, we have to move into the hope and the positive outlook and to come from the place of higher understanding. That higher understanding can only come in when your Shen, your heart spirit, your mind is in a really good place. So stay clear in your energy, clear in your mind, your heart. We can use this time right now to heal ourselves further, to be good humans, and to work from a state of higher consciousness. We do have this. I'm sending you so much love, so much support. If you need my actual support, please reach out to me. Go to my website, book an appointment, get what you need to take care of yourself. Thank you for listening and being here as always.